I was standing at the bottom of the stairs when I saw her. My fiancée. Her legs wrapped around a half-naked janitor in a maintenance uniform, right there on our living room couch. I didn't catch them over messages or in some sneaky way. I saw it with my own eyes. And I wish I could forget, but I can't. What happened next broke me, then remade me into someone she'd never recognize. I always thought betrayal would feel like a knife in the chest. Sharp. Sudden. But when it happened, it was more like drowning. Slow. Suffocating. I didn't scream. I didn't rage. I just stood there frozen, watching my fiancée ruin everything. Her name's Brielle. We'd been together for 4 years. Engaged for 8 months. Our wedding was in 3 weeks. That afternoon, I left work early to surprise her. I brought takeout from her favorite place, even picked up the chocolate mousse she liked. I parked on the street because the driveway had a plumber's van in it. I remember thinking, she must have finally called someone to fix the downstairs sink. I was almost proud of her for handling it. I opened the door quietly, juggling the takeout bags. The house smelled like cheap cologne and sweat. That should have been my first clue. Then I heard a noise. Laughter. Not hers or his. Low, raspy, like someone who smoked too much. I followed the sound to the living room and what I saw. I still see it when I close my eyes. She was straddling him, fully clothed on top, but not underneath. He had on those dark green pants they all wear, but they were unzipped and pulled low. His name tag, Rico, was shining in the sunlight. Her hands were in his hair. She was laughing like she didn't have a fiancé. Like she didn't just send me a text 2 hours ago saying she missed me. They didn't see me at first. I stood at the foot of the stairs like an idiot, paralyzed. I think I even dropped one of the takeout bags. That's when she turned. She didn't scream. She didn't cover up. She didn't look ashamed. She laughed. Right in my face. "Oh no," she said, climbing off him like she was stepping out of a pool. "Guess the surprise is on you, huh?" He didn't even move. Just sat there, looking bored, scratching his neck. Like this happened all the time. I couldn't speak. My mouth opened but nothing came out. "You're seriously standing there with takeout," she said. "God, you're even more pathetic than I thought." That's when it hit me. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. She wanted me to see. I dropped the mousse on the floor. It splattered near her bare feet. Still, she didn't flinch. "Go ahead," she said. "Say something. Or are you just going to stand there like a sad puppy?" I didn't say anything. I just turned around and walked out the front door. I sat in my car for an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just stared at the wheel, breathing like I'd run a marathon. I didn't know what to do. I only knew one thing. I would never be the same again. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch at my brother's place staring at the ceiling while his dog snored at my feet. Every time I blinked, I saw her face again, smirking, satisfied, unbothered. And that janitor, Rico, still zipped halfway down, like he didn't even have the decency to get dressed before ruining my life. The next morning, she messaged me. "Don't make this bigger than it is." Like I had imagined the whole thing. Like she wasn't tangled up on our couch with a guy who cleans toilets. I didn't respond. But later that afternoon, I drove back to the house to grab a few things. My suit for the wedding. Some toiletries. My laptop. She was still there. Alone this time. When I walked in, she didn't look surprised. "Oh, you came back," she said, sipping something from a wine glass at noon. "That's bold." I couldn't look at her. I went straight upstairs. She followed. "You're really just going to ignore me," she said, walking behind me like nothing had happened. "Come on, baby. Don't be dramatic. It's not like I love him." That stopped me. I turned around. "Then why?" I asked. She tilted her head. "Because you're boring." That hit harder than I expected. "You do everything right. You always try to be nice. Thoughtful. Loyal. It's exhausting. You never make me feel anything. I needed something real." "With a janitor?" She shrugged. "He listens. And he doesn't cry every time something goes wrong." I swallowed hard. "I never cried in front of you." "No," she said, stepping closer. "But you wanted to." "You think I didn't notice? You're so easy to read. You worship me. And honestly, it's pathetic." I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was caving in. She smiled. "You still want to forgive me, don't you?" I said nothing. She laughed. "Wow," she said, eyes wide. "You do. You actually do. After everything? You poor, sad little man." She walked past me, brushing her shoulder against mine like I was a stranger on the street. "You were never going to be enough. You should thank me, really. I freed you." I packed my things in silence. My hands were shaking, but I didn't let her see. I didn't want her to win again. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching me like I was some reality show she was barely invested in. As I zipped the suitcase, she spoke again. Soft this time. Dangerous. You know what your problem is? You believe love means loyalty. But real love, real life is messier. You don't survive it by being a good little boy. You survive it by knowing when to take what you want. I turned, met her eyes, and for the first time, I saw something. Not love, not regret, just ego. Pure and monstrous. And right then, I decided I was going to take something too. Something she couldn't laugh off. I didn't say a word to anyone for 3 days. My phone was full of missed calls and unread messages. My mom, my best friend Mike. Even Brielle's sister tried reaching out. I ignored them all. I moved into a cheap short-term rental across town. A one-bedroom with stained carpet and walls that smelled like smoke. Perfect. No one would come looking for me there. I brought just enough: laptop, toothbrush, a few clothes. But I also brought the ring. Her engagement ring. It sat in my pocket like a loaded weapon. I'd stare at it sometimes, wondering how close I had come to marrying someone who looked at me like I was trash. She didn't just cheat on me. She laughed while she did it. She told me to my face that I was too soft, too loyal, too easy to predict. That's when it hit me. She was right about one thing. She thought she knew me. She thought I'd either beg for her back or disappear quietly. She didn't think I had it in me to turn the tables. That was her mistake, and I was going to make her pay for it. But not with violence. Not with yelling or slashing tires or screaming matches on social media. No, that's what she'd expect. That's what she could twist to make herself the victim. I needed something cleaner, smarter, untraceable. The wedding was still 3 weeks away. I hadn't canceled anything yet. Neither had she. She was probably telling her friends I just needed space, or that we were figuring things out. Let her. Let her build the lie higher, so I could knock it down harder. First, I called the venue. I told them to keep everything exactly as scheduled. Then I called the caterers, the florist, the DJ, all systems go. Then I called Mike, my best man. He was furious when I told him what happened. Said he'd drive over and talk to her himself. No, I told him. I need you calm. I need you to act like nothing happened. We're going to play this smart. He paused. What are you thinking? I'm going to let her plan the perfect wedding, I said. Then I'm going to ruin it in a way she'll never forget. He laughed nervously. You serious? I've never been more serious. That night, I sat down and wrote a list. It had 2 columns. What she took from me, my trust, my future, my dignity, what I'll take from her, her pride, her reputation, her illusion of control. I didn't know all the details yet, but I had time. 3 weeks. That's all I needed. While she smiled for bridal photos and posted countdowns on Instagram, I'd be quietly building the one thing she never expected: a reckoning. The first thing I attacked was her image. Brielle always cared about appearances more than truth. She needed to be admired. She lived for compliments, for likes, for those fake little smiles people give at bridal showers. So I started where it would hurt most: her reputation. I made an anonymous account. Nothing suspicious. Just a clean, empty profile. I followed her wedding planner, her florist, her venue, her makeup artist. All of them posted her engagement photos with captions like, "Can't wait to see this stunning bride walk down the aisle in just 2 weeks." Underneath each one, I left subtle comments. I used to know her. Funny how looks can be deceiving. Hope the groom knows what she was doing with the janitor at her house last month. She's not who you think she is. I didn't overdo it. Just enough to spark whispers. The makeup artist deleted the comment. The florist blocked the account. But the venue's assistant messaged me directly. Hey, I don't want to get involved in anything personal, but your comment, is that real? I waited 2 hours before responding. Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. The wedding's a lie, but she'll find out what it feels like to be humiliated. That message wasn't for them. It was for her. Because I knew she'd hear about it. By the next day, she did. I got a text. From her. The first direct one since the living room. Brielle, what are you doing? Why are vendors pulling out? Me. Just cleaning up your mess. She called me 5 times. I didn't answer. Mike said she was in panic mode, texting people to do damage control. The venue had called her asking if she and I were still good. Apparently, one of her bridesmaids dropped out too, saying she didn't feel comfortable standing next to someone who would do that to a man like me. I smiled at that. Small wins, but they tasted good. Then came the rehearsal dinner. I never confirmed I'd attend, but I showed up anyway, in a tailored suit. Calm, quiet, collected. Brielle looked like she'd seen a ghost when I walked into the restaurant. Everyone was there. Her parents, my parents, the bridal party, a few cousins. I stood up, raised my glass. I just want to say, I began, that I'm grateful. Grateful to learn the truth before the wedding, and not after. Grateful to know what kind of person I was almost marrying. Gasps. Silence. My mom covered her mouth. Her dad stood up like he wanted to interrupt, but I kept going. No hard feelings, I said, looking straight at Brielle. Some people show love with commitment. Others, with lies and maintenance closets. She turned white. I left my glass on the table and walked out. My first strike was complete, and I wasn't even close to done. For 48 hours, I thought I had her cornered. The comments online, the ruined rehearsal dinner, the whispers from friends and vendors, it all worked. She went silent. No calls, no texts, no passive-aggressive posts. But I should have known better. Brielle doesn't stay down. She pivots, rewrites the story, and that's exactly what she did. It started with a phone call from my boss. Hey, he said, just a heads up, someone's been asking about your conduct here. HR said there's been an anonymous complaint. I nearly dropped the phone. A complaint? About what? He hesitated. Unprofessional behavior, emotional instability, retaliatory harassment involving a personal breakup. She didn't name you, but we all know what this is. I knew. Of course I knew. Brielle. She didn't just want to survive. She wanted to flip the script. Paint herself as the victim. Me as the unstable ex-fiancé trying to destroy her life. I opened Instagram later that day and saw her new post. A close-up of her hand holding a cup of tea. Captioned, surrounding myself with love and healing. Sometimes people try to break you when they can't control you. Grateful for my support system. Hundreds of likes. Comments full of hearts. And beneath it all, a comment from someone I didn't recognize. Men like that are always the same. Narcissistic, manipulative, and dangerous. She didn't just twist the story, she weaponized it. That night, I found out she had met with my landlord. Claimed I was emotionally unstable and potentially a risk to others. Said she hoped he'd be careful about who he rented to. 3 days later, I got an email. Lease termination request due to concerns raised by a third party. You have 30 days to vacate. She was playing dirty and winning. Mike called me that night, pissed. She's good, man. She's turning this around fast. I knew it. She was hitting every angle. Social, professional, legal. She even filed a report with the police. Concerns about retaliation. Unwanted online harassment. When I tried to counter, they shrugged. She's covered her tracks. No direct threats. Just tension. I had to sit in a small office while an officer warned me about escalating behavior. Like I was the one who cheated. Like I was the threat. She was turning me into the bad guy. And worst of all, people believed her. Even some of my friends started going quiet. A few unfollowed me. One even texted, "Hey man, I don't want to take sides, but maybe you should let it go." Let it go? She dragged my name through the mud. She humiliated me in our home. She slept with a janitor and laughed in my face. And now I'm the problem? I sat in that cold apartment that night, watching her social life bloom again online, her followers supporting her, while I packed boxes for the move. She'd just won a round. But the war wasn't over. She thought I was done. I'd barely started. I stopped reacting. That was the first real move. She wanted a war of noise. Accusations. Drama. I gave her silence. And while she performed grief for likes and pity for influence, I started digging. I went back through every shared account we had, bank statements, subscriptions, old cloud storage. People forget how much they leave behind digitally. Brielle was no exception. I found a hidden album in our shared cloud. It was named something vague, June Memories, but the timestamps were from March. Months before her affair started, according to her. There were photos, screenshots, a few short videos. Nothing explicit, but enough. One clip stood out. She was laughing, sitting on the floor of our bedroom, talking to someone off camera. Her voice soft, playful. "You should have seen him," she said. "He made me breakfast in bed. Thought it was because he picked the right wedding venue. It's actually because you spent the night." A beat. Then laughter. Hers and someone else's. I saved it all. Quietly. Carefully. Then I called my cousin Derek. He's a civil attorney. Not the kind who usually deals with social drama, but I didn't need legal firepower. I needed leverage. Hypothetically, I said, if someone publicly defamed another person with false accusations, career-threatening stuff, what could the consequences be? He asked a few follow-up questions. I told him just enough. Well, he said, if you have proof, and if her story contradicts itself publicly, you might have a civil case. Defamation. Especially if she hurt your employment or housing. I smiled. Perfect. Next, I reached out to her venue coordinator. We'd signed the rental agreement under my name. Technically, I was the primary contact. I'd like to add a small display to the cocktail hour, I said. What kind of display? A looping video. Personal footage. 5 minutes max. They hesitated. As long as it's not inappropriate. Oh no, I said. Just memories. Then I made the video. 5 minutes of her, in her own words. No commentary. No narration. Just Brielle, bragging to her lover. Lying to her friends. Calling me a backup plan, and emotionally safe but forgettable. Over it, I added soft piano music. Then I booked a second venue. Just down the street from hers. Same date. Same time. I invited everyone on the guest list secretly. Sent digital invites with no names, just a title. The real story of the almost bride. And I waited. The day before her wedding, I sent her one message. Enjoy tomorrow. You've earned every second. She didn't reply, but I knew she read it. The next morning, people started texting me. Screenshots. Whispers. Some of the vendors backed out again, claiming unexpected scheduling conflicts. A few guests messaged her asking about this second event, and if the rumors were true. I didn't need to show the video. Just the threat of it was enough. By noon, she called me. Blocked number. I didn't pick up. I was too busy setting the tables at my private screening. The morning after the video threat, I expected her to panic. Collapse. Cancel the wedding. I thought the embarrassment alone would be enough to bring her down. But Brielle doesn't panic. She plots. At 7:42 a.m., I got a knock at my door. Certified mail. Inside was a thick envelope with a firm header. Petition for civil harassment restraining order. She filed it. Claimed I had stalked her. Harassed her. Used revenge tactics to ruin her livelihood and mental health. And the worst part? She attached screenshots. Ones I didn't even know she had. Old texts. Messages from months ago. Me venting during our rough patches. Saying things like, I don't know how much more I can take, and sometimes I feel like losing control. Out of context, they painted me as unstable. Then there were the DMs. The ones I sent vendors from that anonymous account. She must have guessed it was me, then traced the digital footprints somehow, IP match, email link, whatever. She'd done her homework. She even mentioned the second venue. She framed it all as an attempt to publicly humiliate her in an orchestrated psychological attack. The hearing was scheduled for the following week. I called Derek. Told him everything. He was silent for a few seconds before sighing. She's good, he said. She's turning your moves into evidence. I didn't do anything illegal. Doesn't matter. In court, perception wins. Especially when it's emotional. And especially when the person pressing charges is a woman claiming harassment by a bitter ex. I hung up and just sat there. For the first time since this started, I felt cornered. Later that day, I found out she'd gone further. She'd posted on her Instagram again, this time, a long caption. I wasn't going to share this. But silence helps no one. Over the last month, I've been harassed, surveilled, and publicly humiliated by someone I trusted. I hope my story helps other women spot the red flags early. Your safety matters. She turned the tide. Now I was the villain. The unstable ex. The man who snapped when he lost control. The comment section was full of support. People telling her she was brave. Offering to walk her down the aisle in place of her father, who had quietly backed out after seeing the video footage I shared with him. Yes, even her father was gone. But it didn't matter. Her narrative was stronger. She found new people to believe her. New allies to post, like, comment. I tried to respond once. Just once. Posted a quiet statement from my own page. I never threatened her. I never hurt her. I only told the truth. No one cared. The comments flooded in. Gaslighting 101. You're lucky she didn't call the cops. Stop pretending to be the victim. And just like that, she won the crowd. She twisted the knife so slowly, I didn't even notice I was bleeding. Until I looked around and realized I was standing alone. I stopped trying to explain myself. No more defending. No more posting. No more responding. Instead, I listened. Because when people think you've lost, they start getting careless. And Brielle? She got comfortable again. Confident. Reckless. It started with an email. Not to me, to a mutual friend of ours, Lacey. Someone we both knew from college. Lacey hadn't taken sides. She stayed quiet during the whole fallout. But one night, she forwarded me a screenshot without saying a word. The email was from Brielle. Subject line: "Need a small favor," discreetly. And inside, Brielle wrote about needing to clean up a few digital loose ends before her next legal round. She asked Lacey to log into an old photo archive they used for a bachelorette trip last year, an account under Lacey's email, but Brielle's password. She wanted a few things deleted: private videos, messages, a couple of clips that could be misinterpreted. But the dumbest thing she did? She said exactly why. "If he ever subpoenas anything, I'm screwed, LOL." That one line was everything. Lacey had no idea I'd ever get it. She didn't want to be involved, but something about that LOL pushed her. I took the screenshot straight to Derek. He sat back in his chair, rereading it 3 times before looking at me. "You realize what this is," he said. "Yep. Perjury. Evidence tampering. Intent to destroy digital evidence in an ongoing legal matter. This flips everything. We didn't go to the cops. That wasn't the move. We went to her lawyer. Derek drafted a formal notice, a quiet one. No public filings. Just a private message delivered to her legal team. It included the email, a short summary of what we had, and a polite line. Should this reach a courtroom, we will pursue full damages for defamation, false claims, reputational loss, and attempted civil fraud. Then we waited. 3 days later, the civil harassment hearing was canceled. Her team requested dismissal. Just like that. She never posted about it. Never addressed it publicly. She just pulled back, fast. But that wasn't the real victory. The real one came next. I applied for a job at a rival firm to the one she was trying to get into, some elite PR firm she'd been chasing for years. The kind that cares deeply about their image. I attached my resume and something else. A curated file. It contained all the empowering Instagram posts she made, alongside the court dismissal record and a discreet note. Just in case this affects your hiring process. I didn't have to lie. I didn't have to threaten. I just showed them who she really was. 2 weeks later, I got the call. "Mr. Hayes," the HR rep said, "we're no longer moving forward with Brielle Summers. We appreciate the context." I hung up and smiled for the first time in weeks. She hadn't just lost the public. She lost the thing she loved even more. Her future career. Her name. Her perfect image. Now she was just another canceled bride with a tarnished resume and a record that wouldn't go away. I'd struck clean. And she never even saw the blade. I thought I had ended it. Her job offer gone. Her reputation cracked. The civil case dismissed. For once, the silence felt like peace. But peace doesn't last long when your enemy knows how to smile through blood. Brielle came back swinging. Not online. Not with posts or petty captions. This time, she used the one thing I thought I still had. My credibility. I got a letter from the state licensing board. Someone had filed a formal complaint about me. Accused me of falsifying professional documents during our wedding planning, contracts, vendor correspondence, even venue permissions. Attached were copies. Doctored. Twisted. But they looked official enough to raise suspicion. She didn't want me arrested. She wanted me discredited. She knew my career was my last stable ground. And she targeted it like a sniper. I called Derek in a panic. What if they believe it? What if this sticks? He didn't sugarcoat it. If it gets traction, you'll be investigated. At best, suspended. At worst, blacklisted. I knew it was her. The timing. The tone. The precision. All of it was classic Brielle, silent sabotage dressed in professionalism. And then came the final blow. I got served again. This time it wasn't a restraining order or a complaint. It was a defamation lawsuit. She claimed emotional distress, financial damages, career sabotage. She asked for $75,000. And the most brutal part? She attached an affidavit from someone I trusted. Mike, my best man. He signed a statement saying I'd mentioned plans to ruin her wedding and that I had a detailed file meant to destroy her reputation. Technically true, but completely removed from context. I called him. He didn't answer. I tried again. Nothing. Then I checked his Instagram. He was tagged in a dinner post with Brielle. Captioned, "Grateful for real friends who see both sides." I couldn't breathe. She stole my best friend. Flipped him. Or maybe he was never really mine. She had everything now, the emotional leverage, a legal team, and my closest ally. And me? I was stuck facing a lawsuit I couldn't afford and an ethics review I might not survive. She had won. She buried me without lifting a finger. I sat in that same broken apartment where this war began, staring at the walls, thinking about how much I'd lost. Not just her, not just my job, but my sense of who I was. And then, a knock. Envelope. No return address. Inside, a receipt. From a private storage unit in her name. Unit 308. Paid in full for the next 6 months. Why would she send me that? I didn't know, but I drove there. I unlocked the door. And inside, stacked neatly against the far wall, were 5 banker's boxes. Labeled 2019 to 2023 archive for deletion. Her handwriting. Her files. Hard drives. Journals. Flash drives. Voice notes. Screenshots. Everything she never wanted the world to see. And on top of the first box, a note. 1 line. You want the truth? Here it is. I spent 2 nights in silence, locked in that apartment with the contents of the storage unit. 5 boxes. Labeled by year. Everything sorted, cataloged, dated. Brielle had kept records of every lie she'd told, every man she'd touched, every manipulation she'd pulled. Not out of guilt. Out of pride. There were recordings. Her voice bragging to friends about how easy it was to play innocent. Screenshots of text where she made fun of me. One message stuck with me more than anything else. Sent to one of her coworkers. He actually cried. Like full-on tears. I almost laughed in his face. I swear, sometimes I forget he's a grown man. I read that sentence 20 times. And then I found the envelope. Sealed. No label. Inside, 3 printed photos. One was her kissing Rico, our old janitor, against the side of a dumpster behind our building. The second was her sitting across from my ex, best friend Mike, her hand in his, a champagne glass between them. Dated 2 weeks before our wedding was supposed to happen. The third photo was a bank deposit slip. $9,200. Cash. Her handwriting in the corner. Black file leverage, just in case. Leverage. That's all I ever was to her. Stability. Backup. Emotional insurance. And now? I had enough to bury her. I drafted the email. Attached the audio files, screenshots, photos. Addressed it to her boss. Her new firm's hiring board. 3 major clients I knew she was chasing through PR pitches. I had contact names. I had their direct emails. I wrote the subject line. For your awareness, employee conduct before hiring. My finger hovered over send. But before I clicked it, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, another call. Then a message. From her. No words. Just a photo. Her. Outside my apartment building. I opened the door slowly. She stood in the hallway, makeup ruined, eyes red, knees shaking. And then she dropped to the floor. Literally dropped. Hands clasped, sobbing, her voice cracked like a child's. Please, she whispered. Please, don't do this. I didn't speak. She crawled forward, still on her knees. I know I deserve it. I know I ruined you. I know I'm a terrible person. Just, please, don't send that. Don't destroy everything. Not like this. I stayed silent. She cried harder. I can't take it back. I would if I could. I swear. I thought you'd never fight back. And when you did, I didn't know what to do. You were always the good one. Please, let me keep something. She lowered her head to the floor. I could barely hear her whisper. I'll disappear. I'll leave you alone forever. Just, please. I stood there, holding the phone, staring at the draft email. And then, I deleted it. Not for her. For me. Because I didn't need revenge to win. She had already lost everything that mattered. I stepped back inside, shut the door behind me, and whispered one question. What would you do in my place?